Let's see. Well, let's check it out. All right. Oh, come on. I'm going to do this and see if we're live. There it is. We're live. Seems to be, and see if we're live. All right. So now we're live, and I'm going to go hook up the camera. We are live.
Well, you're still moving. I seem to be frozen in that picture. Let's see what happens.
Okay. I think we lost the internet, but this is now saying it's live. So welcome everybody. So it's good that it happened now, right? Once you
Better than when we got 25 people in line trying to get on.
all right. There you go.
Walker's on.
Great. Well, we're on YouTube. YouTube just fine. I mean, it's YouTube where we're having a problem on. And then I'm getting a glare. So let's take that glare away. All right, let's see if that's better. All right. I'm going to make sure my microphones are all working. All right, welcome everybody. Let me do the chat thing quick. Welcome to the podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Tonight we're talking about small craft distilleries. Let us know where you're from and what you're sipping on tonight. There's the welcome. The Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Okay, so we should be doing good now. We're getting some people in, and all right, that was the wrong way. Let's see if I can spin this more. That actually made you have more of a glare. I'm trying to get less of a glare. All right, I'm trying. Here we go. What?
Me or on something else?
Okay, perfect. I did it. All right, so there we go. I'm looking good on YouTube. That's working. All right, we're good on there. All right, so welcome everybody. Thanks for hanging in there, Walker, Ricky. Ricky says we're good on Facebook. Everything's good. And I didn't share it to Greg Schneider. That's like the one guy that I forgot to share it to. Maybe Walker, you could share it to Greg directly. See if he can, let him know that we're on. And so we'll get started in a few seconds, but we're going to go over our sponsors. Whiskey Thief Distillery, you got to check them out. They are in Frankfort and in Louisville, Kentucky. Both places. One is their Three Boys Farm in Frankfort, where they have their still and they create all the. My seat is making is squeaking. Where they basically make the bourbon and age it. But right there in their place for price of admission, they've got up to 10 barrels, 5 barrels to choose from. It's a barrel pick all day, every day. Everything they have there is uncut and unfiltered. You get to taste from each of the 5 barrels, and if you like one, you can fill either your 375 or your 750. Either way, fantastic whiskey, and it's a craft distillery unlike any other craft distillery experience. Middle West Spirits in Columbus, Ohio, they were a craft distillery. They're in the process of becoming a commercial distillery. They have their Michelin brand here. The castrate is on the shelf right now. They're in 48 states. So if you go out and you see Middle West Spirits, you see the cask strength. They've got the cask strength wheat, the cask strength wheated bourbon, 4 grain. and then also the cask strength pumpernickel rye. All fantastic whiskeys. What Ryan Lang is doing down there and their new distillery is fantastic. Can't wait till the restaurants and the shopping and everything's open down there. So there's a lot of things happening, but right now you can go to their craft distillery, their original craft distillery, and you can tour it, see what's going on, and do a tasting. But they also have the service bar restaurant, which is fantastic fine dining. I highly recommend checking out Middle West Spirits in Columbus, Ohio. We've got the Spirit of French Lick. This is our William Dalton current pick. They're at the Spirit of French Lick, where it is the former distillery of Alan Bishop, but everything there is Alan Bishop's. It's still there. So if you're missing a little bit of Alan Bishop while he's transitioning to Old Homestead, you can basically stop by the Spirit of French Lick and they'll get you set up with the different brands. He's still Lee W. Sinclair, 4-grain bourbon, William Dalton wheated bourbon. They've got the Solomon Scott rye whiskey. They come in cask strengths and they come in their regular small batches. Fantastic whiskey. And if you really want to know and get deep dive into what Alan Bishop was doing there at that spectacular craft distillery, he came up with the Lillian Sinclair, and we also have that bottle available for tasting. Anybody interested, contact me. I'll get you set up. And then we also have Jason Giles from Rosewood. I was gonna say Rosewood Bourbons and Ryes. What he does is he distills and also purchases barrels from Indiana and Kentucky, ages them, and then drives them semi all the way down to Texas and ages them there in one of their hot summers for at least one season in that hot heat, maybe more sometimes. But Rosewood Bourbon and Rye, if you see it on the shelf anywhere, I suggest to pick it up. It's not being right now distributed, but there are still bottles out there, and it is some damn good whiskey. And last but not least, and sometimes before, but Alan Bishop is now at Old Homestead Distillery, which is, in my opinion, the epitome of a small craft distillery. That he's doing some fantastic things there, but also he has his One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute podcast, where he basically on YouTube will talk about anything that has to do with distilling, home distilling, commercial distilling, distilling problems. And if you have a specific question, you can ask him and he will respond in a future episode. And then he also has If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Fantastic podcast. It's a podcast that I've stuck with, listened to all the episodes, and what he has done with that is quite spectacular, because he's combined the essence of the spirits industry and that world along with the spiritual world, and he combines the two together, and these stories that are told and the guests that he has on, some of the stuff is pretty fantastic. So check out If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything on Spotify and any other podcast format that you choose to listen to. Anything to say there, Randy? Oh, wait, not Randy. Is there anything to say there, Mr. Whiskey Doctor?
Either way is perfectly fine, thank you. You know, that's one thing I really like about our sponsors, is they're real people that you can actually get to know and talk to and learn about. That's really cool. And they all are so good to this industry and making this industry better for regular guys like me. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's one of the so our sponsors aren't people who come to us. It's kind of like we pick each other. It's the epitome. I would never take on somebody who I didn't like their whiskey or them. And these people, I got to know at the Spirit of French Lick, and Alan and Jolie were there at the time, and then now Loreline in Brooklyn, and I've drank with them and talked with them, and they're, friends of the podcast. And Alan Bishop is, I look at as one of my better friends in the world, and Ryan Lang, what he's doing, it's amazing what he's doing at Middle West and how good he's doing it and everything. And the fact that he was sharing that with me, it just made sense for him to become part of the sponsor of the podcast. And then Walter Zausch and Hannah down there, and the Whiskey Thief. I probably went to Whiskey Thief probably 15 times before it just made sense to have him on the podcast. I mean, to sponsor the podcast. So it's just, we were there so much, we were practically already doing it, So we make we do a lot of promotion of it, not because they're our sponsors. We promote it because they are great people and they do good work. So there we go. Now, let's see. We have somebody from Chasing Neat. He's from Northern Indiana. And then also Cappy here. Hi, I'm new. He's new. Where are you from? So we always put down where you're from. That's what we got there. On YouTube, it's only Jeff on YouTube. No, the YouTube. Randy's next to me on the TV screen on YouTube. So that's what the goal is right there, Ricky. This new format kind of worked out. That's why I have the TV screen next to me. There used to be, I don't even know, I had the monitor and I had to come up with this different, oh, there's Greg. Thank you there, Walker. Hey, Greg, good to see you. We're getting ready to get...
On Facebook, we're side by side.
Yes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I've actually figured this out. On YouTube, you're just it's like you're just up on the screen, and on Facebook, we're side. This is the way I want to do it all the time with the guest. A singular guest. Now, once you have multiple people, then it's good to have the whole thing up, as far as that goes. But,
Right.
All right, so it looks like we're ready to get started here. So I will make sure all the sound is good for the audio. Sometimes it's too loud, I don't know. Give me a test, Randy.
Hello, can y'all hear me all right?
No, that's a little loud for that, so we're going to turn that down.
I can whisper, but
Nope. Try it again.
be kind of like my friend that we accuse him of learning how to whisper in a sawmill.
Perfect. Everything's good.
Sounds okay? Good.
Yep. And we're going to get started here, and there'll be a brief moment of silence, and then once you'll see the Scotchy Bourbon Boys promo. right, welcome back to another podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Again, it looked like it froze on Facebook, which was kind of bizarre. I don't know why. It looked like it said pause, but I didn't want to do anything. It must be something that I do. And now we're back to, that messed everything up. Now, let's see if I can get it back to where it was, right? Let's see, Facebook, view, gallery. Now let's go back to speaker. All right, hopefully that'll be what it is, but it seemed to, you see that now? It's now on Facebook, it looks like it's just me. Oh, there we go, I got it back.
There you go.
Yep. All right, nope. Oh, let's see. I'll put it back to gallery. You can see that. I'll try it one more time. Is it back to just me talking? Yeah. Let's try it. Gallery. And then back to speaker. I'll try it one more time and see if that does it. All right. Anyways, as usual, welcome to this podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Tonight we have the Whiskey Doctor in the house. Hey, Randy.
Great to be here. Thank y'all for having me. This is going to be a really exciting podcast because we're looking at one of my favorite things, which is craft distilleries.
Yeah, and you're not on. You're going to be on, I believe, Tuesday, August 5th for Whiskey Without Borders, which is your standard thing. But you know, when you found out it was craft distilleries and you knew that Super Nash and CT were going to leave me high and dry, so you offered to come on tonight, and I graciously accepted. Welcome. So, all right. So tonight, that's what it is. We're going to be talking small craft distilleries and what it means to us, because there's so many different meanings of what that kind of, what does it really mean, and who are the true small craft distilleries, and who are they pretending? Are they big money supporting? You know, what makes up a small craft distillery? And, you know, we could talk about that as we go forward. But remember, www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And then t-shirts, Glencairns, like I'm drinking out of tonight. And check the website out. I will be getting the Crystal Glencairn Club up there soon, too. I keep having to do changes to the website. It's all ready to go. But it's just like I always work with Roxy, and Roxy's been really busy. So hopefully looking forward to sometime in August getting that updated. And then also check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X. Also the major podcast formats, mainly Apple, iHeart, Spotify. But any other podcast format that you're listening to, we're probably there. And remember, no matter whether you watch us or listen to us, make sure you listen, like, comment, subscribe, and leave good feedback. So as we go in now, tonight, there's a couple things I wanted to cover before we get into this. And one of them is that I got a press release from Explorer Bardstown Bourbon. There is going to be the Bourbon Capital Academy, which they are doing their 2-hour educational experience. They're offering it. They announced it in May. It's called Bourbon in Bardstown, and it's offered to people coming down for touring in the Bardstown area, touring the distilleries. And it's kind of like a Saturday. It's Saturday morning at 10 a.m. It's a Saturday morning kickoff kind of thing before you go off to the distilleries for your tours. Now, what they said, it's a 2-hour educational experience, is offered in the recently renovated Brendiamo Penthouse in historic Spalding Hall. Attendees start with a guided tour of the Oscar Getz Museum of bourbon history, and that is on the first floor. And then the Kentucky Bourbon Festival offices are up in the Brendiamo penthouse. So you get the whole tour of the building basically. And then in the basement is the Rickhouse restaurant. So if you're done, you could probably have lunch before you go off, touring. And then it gives you, then after you take the tour in the museum and you get a lot of history there, then you dive into the history of Bardstown, taking an old school versus a new school with an innovative tasting. So they take, so you're gonna basically taste the older and the newer up against each other, and then attendees learn about bourbon, Bardstown, and so much more, preparing you to fully enjoy distillery tours and the tastings that come with them. Designed to be the perfect kickoff to a day at the distilleries, Bourbon Capital Academy's Bourbon in Bardstown is offered at 10 a.m. on Saturdays with 5 more opportunities this year. August 2nd, September 7th, October 25th, November 22nd, and December 20th. You can check it out at the Bourbon Capital Academy. Sign up for those, and let's see. Completing the course comes with a Bardstown Distillers map, a branded glass, tasting notebook, and more. It's $85 per person. Partner distilleries of the Bourbon Capital Academy include Bardstown Bourbon Company, 1792 Barton's, Heaven Hill, James B. Bean Distilling Company, Log Still Distillery, Lux Row Distillery, Maker's Mark, Old Steelhouse Distillery, and Preservation Distillery. So check that out. That is something to really check out. It seems to be something that everybody would want to do. It's reasonably priced. You're getting a tasting. It's 2 hours. And you get to go to the museum. And you're up there in one of the coolest places in Bardstown, up at the Brendiamo penthouse. So you should check that out if you're going to be in the area in August 2nd, September 27th, October 25th, November 22nd, and December 20th. Check the website for availability. So there we go. Did you know about that, Randy? Or Whiskey Doc?
Had not heard about that, but for those of us that are early risers on Saturday, you can actually go get in line at Heaven Hill or some of the other places that might be putting things out, and then still head straight on over there and make your 10 o'clock. So that would work out well.
Yeah, definitely. Although I don't think Heaven Hill opens till 11, if I'm not mistaken.
Saturday?
Yeah.
They normally open at 9:30, I think.
Full screen.
On Sundays they open later.
Okay. Let's go gallery. All right, we're gonna go gallery for everybody. That's right. So, what I wanted to say. So I've got a couple things. Tonight, you basically, what would you say? You said you wanted to. We kind of got together, and you want to promote a distillery. And I'm going to promote a distillery, and we'll, after that, we'll get into the discussion of because we're both promoting a craft distillery we really think is a craft distillery. And there's reasons why I think some craft distilleries really, what would you say, own that category, right? And then the main thing is you gotta have, to be a craft distillery, in my opinion, an actual craft distillery, you gotta have a distillery with an experience, and where people can go and see what you're doing, whether it's in a strip mall, or it's in its own building, or it's on a farm. It's just, there's got to be an aspect of the craft distillery that you can experience. That's just my opinion. There, if you're, there's so many different ways to do this, and one of the things I really believe is distilling your own whiskey, even though you might have to get through it, you know, to get to the aged stuff. You have, as a craft distillery, one of the things why they're, one of the reasons why they're called craft distillers, because they're damn crafty on what they do. They come up.
One of the things that I think of that really, two things that make a craft distillery, generally speaking, is they're not corporately owned. They're individually owned, or they're owned by a family or a small group. So they're not, they're not owned by a multi-billion-dollar corporation like some of these big boys that we know. Also, they tend to be smaller, obviously, because they're not multi-billion dollars, or at least they don't start off that way. We've got some folks on tonight that actually own craft distilleries, and I would bet they would be glad to tell you that they didn't start off with several $billion in their pocket to start it. But those are two of the things, and those are the kind of things that really create that experience that you're talking about. The fact that you get to meet and talk with the owners and the distillers, and sometimes that's the same person. Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it is. And so you find the story. The St. Augustine Distillery, which is one down here in Florida that I'll talk about, started partially as a community project to save a building that was a historic building. And we'll talk about that later. I'll hush and let you say a little bit more, but that's some of the things that I think of that make a distillery a craft distillery.
So the one, what made me come up with this idea, honestly, is right now, this past weekend, I went up to see my son, Knobs, in Michigan, and he's out of Thompsonville, which is right, probably about 35 minutes out of Traverse City. It's about 15 minutes out of Interlaken, and so up in that area, there is a lot of vacation. It's a vacation town, a vacation community. Now Thompsonville's more, it's more of a town with a township. It's like that, and it's right next to the Crystal Mountain ski resort, which is one of the biggest ski resorts in Michigan. He's right up there near Lake, 15 minutes away from Lake Michigan. We did a bunch of things, but I was looking at, I did a post and someone responded with an Iron Fish bottle like this, and I was looking at it and it said Thompsonville, Michigan, and I'm like, I've had about 3 years ago, me and Whiskey did we were doing our rapid tastings, and one of them was an Iron Fish maple cask finish whiskey. Now, 3 years ago, I was completely out on flavored type whiskeys and maple cask. I even talked to Jeff, the COO there, and when you're dealing with the maple syrup cask, the one thing about a maple barrel and why maple syrup whiskey or bourbon finished in whiskey casks with maple syrup is you can't get that dry. When you get that you can't get all the maple syrup out. And when you get the barrel from the syrup company who was aging their syrup in your bourbon barrel so that they could produce bourbon barrel aged syrup, you get that barrel back. You're gonna have, unless you're gonna wait 10 years for it to dry out, syrup just doesn't dry out of that barrel. So that is a certain amount of the maple syrup. It's just going to be going in, which makes it good. So for me, a lot of times the maple syrup ones are a little bit too much. I did like Decadence, and this one in the rapid tasting, I wasn't a huge fan of at the time 3 years ago. Now, fast forward to this past weekend, they're going to be turning 9 years old. on Labor Day weekend. Invited me up for that, but I'm going to, on Labor Day weekend, be headed down to Kentucky for Kentucky Bourbon Festival this year. So I won't be able to do that, but I'm going back in August. And Iron Fish, it's I just grabbed my son. We spent the whole day on the lake with my grandson and my granddaughter. Went to dinner. We came back. My wife's like, "Well, I'll watch the kids." Roxy's like, "I can watch the kids while you and it was my son and my daughter-in-law, and we went over to check it out." Now, it's Leeds. You go there. It's 10 minutes from his house, and 5 minutes is on a dirt road leading up to the farm that they have. Now, the coolest thing is that this is the time that all the rye that they're growing on the farm is getting ready to be harvested. It has turned this beautiful golden color, and you know the difference and they do grow some wheat, they grow some rye. They initially sourced to get through this, to get to this 9-year point. Iron Fish, this right here, is sourced with MGP mixed with what they're doing. So it's their distilled product. They were doing 3 to 4 barrels a day. That is their production right now. They've got 3 rick houses. They just put in their just newest one, and but they have this other product which is called Mad Angler, and I'm gonna go over this real quick and talk about Mad Angler, because this is what, in my opinion, how this craft distillery, they did their own thing. They were sourcing to get through to their own stuff. Spirit of French Lick kind of does that also. They source to get through that type thing. But the Mad Angler really told me that this was a craft distillery. And I am going to share a quick video. And let's see. Let's take this over here. And let's see. I think that's it. And I want to say yes. That's got to be it. Share. All right. There it is. Let's see. All right. This is the bottle I have. The Mad Angler Manifesto. Now, this is their brand right here. And I will full screen that and play.
It takes a lot of time, and it takes patience to do something well. I don't remember actually the first Mad Angler poem I wrote, but when I think back about it, I was mad, you know, and I'm still mad, crazy, I hope in the right ways, but also I'm mad about what's happened to rivers. And, you know, every major river in the country is probably under siege. You know, I don't know anything about distilling at all, but to me it's all about, you have an idea in your mind about what you want, and so that idea is translated here. It's translated into your tongue, into your taste buds. And so when you think about the locally sourced grains and the water coming out of the aquifer, that water's been around a long time. That aspect of it, the wildness, it's embedded in this product, in this whiskey. It's there. Consider holding the wildness of a place in your hand and then tossing it back, dreaming of rivers, wild fish, pure water, the spirit luminous inside you, allowed to roam where it wishes. Mad Angler. That fish is good. Again, we should go fishing.
All right. I don't know if you could see that on Facebook, but let's. So that was kind of cool. Could you see that, Randy?
All right. So here
No,
we
all
are.
we could see was the screen
We're up
behind
here.
you. I could see it on the TV. I couldn't see
Homestead
it
Dam.
where I was.
All right. So what I'm gonna do?
Looked really interesting though.
What I'm gonna let you see it on the screen behind me now. On this one, this is their manifesto, and it's kind of cool because there it is. Now that you can see better now because we're split screen, right?
Yeah.
In the kingdom of fish, a manifesto. The water scene never ceases, assuming its tempo from the current. Words rising out of gravel beds, the sky gossamer, every cloud passing as if carrying a story. This sacred place of origin, the ancient ones living along the riverbank in their invisible huts of silence. On occasion, one of them rises from prayer, and another wild, pure fish tattooed with light and color pulses from their hands into the river. Enter this kingdom if your heart is true enough, if you believe that rivers are holy veins, if you discern the weight of your soul sheltered inside the currents. Dwell here if you believe the truth of the world is written on the skins of holy fish, brook trout, brown, rainbow. They'll flash like a sudden burst of stained glass in the wash of it all. Mad Angler, a manifesto in the kingdom of fish.
That's definitely an
Oh, they
interesting.
call me
Hold
Flipper.
Whoop.
I gotta turn that one off. That was better, right?
Yeah.
Now it won't turn off. Okay, now I gotta get off full screen. There we go. I'm doing my best here, folks. All right, we're back up. All right, there we go. That one, so that to me, with that video and them pairing with this fisherman, a writer, and and basically a poet who appreciates the northern Michigan fishing, trout fishing aspect, and they made this. He worked with the blender. He doesn't know how to distill, but they worked. And this one that I've got, it's a 7 whiskey blend. It's made from 7 different whiskeys. So I'll go back into it a little bit heavier once you talk about your craft distillery. But I mean, to me, this place is the essence. It's a farm that's growing wheat, and Mad Angler is the brand that uses only sourced from their farm rye, and then they pull corn locally and they pull their wheat locally, and it's all local. Whereas the Iron Fish is partially MGP, and they think it might always be partially MGP, but as they make more and more barrels, they'll be able to substitute more and more of what they're doing. But that Mad Angler brand, to me, is, and what they're doing and getting, it's the grain to glass thing that's happening, and that's where you get into those small craft distilleries and the bottles and their little club that they have, their club for purchasing some special barrel picks, or their barrel proof release of their other whiskeys. So that's kind of what the small craft distillery means to me.
That's exactly right. But one of the things I was reading that's interesting, you don't have to be on a 100-acre farm like a lot of these distilleries are. St. Augustine Distillery is actually a 13,000 square foot former ice plant. The building was built in 1907. So it's 118 years old now.
Is it on a river?
And the two owners of the distillery would drive by this building and see it. And they decided they wanted to be able to preserve the building. And they and some other folks in the community, the 20 families got together to basically save that building and start a distillery. They had to go through and modernize it while still keeping the ancient characteristics of it. They had to get permission, obviously, from the state. Had to learn the industry. Neither one of them had really been in the industry before, as far as I know. And they found a couple of industry experts and went out and talked to them. It's amazing, the people. I've been doing this little over 2 years now, and I've been to probably over 100 distilleries, and many of them, especially some of the big boys, I'll go in and say hi. I'm Randy Ford. I've worked with St. Augustine Distillery before, because I worked with them as a taster in Total Wines. I would go into Total Wines and I would share their bottles, everything from their lowest price up to this one, which is their highest price, or one of their highest priced bottles. And people would say, oh yeah, we met Phil, we met Mike when they were first starting. They came up and picked our brains. Or we got together with them and shared information. And I'm talking, Peerless told me that. I was told that by the guys at Whiskey Thief. I was told that by a lot of folks about how they all just collaborated and shared their knowledge. Bardstown, Buffalo Trace, just a lot of different places they went and talked. They were thinking about doing a Sherry Oloroso cask for some of their finished whiskeys. And they went over to Europe, to Spain, with somebody that's big in the industry to meet the right people, and they found out there was a years-long waiting list. They came back and they were talking to, eating lunch with the guy down the street, literally 2 blocks away, that owns St. Sebastian Winery, and he said, we've got a port wine that we make, and we need barrels for it. Why don't we see what we can do? So their port finish is made from barrels that have stored port in the St. Augustine barrels 2 blocks away. So they conserve energy, they conserve carbon footprint by being that close. They use Florida corn, they use Florida wheat, they use Florida sugar cane, because they also make vodka, and they make sugarcane vodka, and they make rum, and they make gin. They make some of the best gin that I've ever had. And they started off, instead of doing like a lot of these others and getting other people's juice and sourcing their juice from somebody, they just started off with making vodka, because that's, you don't have to have any wait time on that. They made vodka, gin, and rum, and started putting their whiskeys out after 2 years. Now, a 2-year-old whiskey is not as good as some of their new stuff that's been out. Now they can do 8 and 10 year stuff, which is really, really good. And I've noticed just in the 2.5 years I've been with them, they're getting a lot better. Just that extra age makes a huge difference. And I really enjoy that. I enjoy the story, and that, like you were saying earlier, that's part of what makes a craft distillery so cool, is the story. And generally, with it, we can hear the story of Elmer T. Lee, but let's face it, most of us weren't around during E.H. Taylor's time and Elmer T. Lee's time. We just weren't.
Right.
But we were around during Greg's time. We're around during Phil's time. We're around the people that are doing it now with these small craft distilleries. We get to live the history with them, which is what's huge.
Well,
That's what I like so much about it.
And people don't realize that. When you're starting out something, Jacob Beam. I mean, when he was doing his thing, it was a small farm craft distillery, and it turned, who knows what distillery is going to explode, and eventually, you look at Wilderness Trail, they've sold, and they're and that is going, when they sell out to a big corporation, it's just going to get bigger. And so there's a lot of distilleries that will do a brand and then sell the brand. You know, and so the one thing I want to say is it's hard. It's like I look at, you can be a smaller distiller and you could be contract distilling and promoting a brand and making some damn good whiskey, or you can be NDR, you know, an NDP, non-distilling producer, and you could be buying stuff and blending and making some damn good whiskey. But that doesn't mean your craft. To me, is you've got a pot still or a column still, and you're distilling the barrels and you're aging the barrels on a small, so your batches are going to be 3 barrel batches or 4 barrel batches or 5. Now it's like this Iron Fish, the it was just the epitome, the whole experience. You know, I didn't even know who Jeff was until I met him, uh, and I met him at the end. I first did a flight with my son. We both got a couple different things in the same. We liked some things. I was impressed. So then we went over and did another small flight at the event that they were having. They told us to go over there. And when I was on the small flight, the last pour, Jeff had come over. I mentioned we were the Scotchy Bourbon boys. And I really think that even the whole experience was so cool, and how friendly and open he was to show us around. Even though the tours were over, he gave us a tour. He let us taste the whiskey, told us what they were doing, showed us what they were doing. You know, when you go on their farm, while you're passing a field with rye in it, it says, this is the next 52 barrels of rye we're going to make, or this is the next 32 barrels of bourbon, you know, rye bourbon we're going to make, or this is the next 12 barrels of wheated, you know, and so that they actually have little signs in front of the field, and it was cool to see the whole field. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous evening, family orientated. I mean, another great craft distillery to me is Starlight. I mean, that is on a farm that they source fruits, apple picking. They got vineyards. They've got, you know, they got the whole thing going. They all live, you know, and it's a little bit bigger, but it's still craft. You know what I mean? And you know, that's just one thing that, you know, what to me is, there's craft distilleries that are defined in the rules, but then there's the small craft distilleries that are the pure truth of distilling, you know. And I think when Alan Bishop was at Spirit of French Lick, and they're now at Old Homestead, he is definitely a craft distiller. Craft distilleries don't mass produce the whiskey. They might get to the point where they start mass producing. I mean, it is an evolution. I think all of them, when they start off, want to be able to make a really good product and take it up to the size, don't you think, Randy? I mean, that the distillers themselves either want to make a brand that they eventually sell off, or they want to take that brand to the level of where they, you know, to a level of where they want to be, correct?
You know, that's true. I know a couple of distilleries that don't have those aspirations, but they're people that started later or have already done that, and they just want to produce a superior product, a product that's distinctive, that a product that has their stamp on it, if you will. And that's their goal, is let's make this particular product. They're not out there trying to make something to sell to the masses necessarily. They're out there to make something that is just wonderful. There's a distillery, and I'm just going to mention them real briefly, out near Ocala. And they make this product right here. It's a Fishhawk Distillery. This is made by Silver Queen corn, and I'm having a hard time with my camera, but this is grown the corn. I can literally look and see where the corn was grown from where I was sitting. I could turn my head and watch them. They grew like 40 acres worth of corn. And he's very small. He built his own still. Of course, I had it inspected and everything, but he literally built his own still. But that's not the normal. That's this one guy really wants to do this, and but the whole idea between what he's doing and what other craft distillers do is they want to make something that's special.
Well,
Something that
you're
they
right.
can really enjoy.
Yeah. Now, Alan Bishop at Old Homestead, when he was at French Lick, he dealt with the stills that they put in. At Old Homestead, he assembled and purchased and assembled and built all of his stills because he has, gin baskets and whiskey all over the place, how he goes about it. Now, Ricky Edwards had two things. Is there a difference from wheat from Iowa, from wheat from Ohio, from wheat from Kentucky or Indiana? And that's where you get into the terroir, which these craft distilleries are going to basically have. And I will say that whiskey from Indiana definitely tastes a little bit different than whiskey from Kentucky. And whether it's the fact that it's being done on a pot still or it's a column still and that type of thing. So there's no doubt. Plus, like you said, this craft distillery with this Mad Angler, this is the manifesto. The 7 different whiskeys put together to come up. And I'm going to do, on this one, I am going to do the old Louisville Whiskey Company barrel bottle breakdown on this real quick, because what you said is exactly why a craft distillery like this particular bottle with the 7 whiskey blend, they didn't have the rules. Most places are, if they've got so much whiskey, if they did a blend like this and try to get it to the masses, you're talking about, thousands and thousands of gallons that you'd have to bank on to know if people are going to like it. Or this blend is probably 7 barrels that were put together, right? And if it's not the same risk that they take when you're dealing, the little guys can be more creative because of the fact of how they're on a smaller scale, and then their production and their distribution is smaller. They don't have to worry about getting it out to the masses. A lot of distilleries like Heaven Hill, which is when they do something like this, they do it distillery release only, which then they don't have to take the chance on. But they're set up for making large small batches or large batches. So when they do that, that's one of the reasons why they basically, Jim Beam went out and built another distillery that wasn't the size of these giant column stills. It was more of a craft still, so that Freddie could mess around on it and come up with something that can compete with the craft distilleries. So that's even unique in itself, right?
Yes. Some distilleries, for instance, and I showed you this, Garrison Brothers. I went out there this weekend to pick this bottle up. This is their Guadalupe cask strength, and they use generally they use a variety of different barrels, but a lot of times they use 15 gallons for their single barrel products, so they don't have to risk, a 53 gallon. Once they use 53s, they use 25s, 27s, and also 30 gallons, depending on what they're doing. But they're able to make stuff especially to start off with, in smaller batches. So, like you said, they don't have the risk there. So that's a very nice factor. Yeah,
and then John Ritt was saying Frey Ranch, Whiskey Acres, which is out by him. Sometimes Ricky Edwards saying, well, maybe it's the water. he says all whiskey comes from a good story that people will purchase. Well, some of the stories are better than others, right? But the ownership at Iron Fish, the story isn't the people that the owners that started it. It's the community, and it's the land is their story, right? And so there's different stories for all different things. And when you're a craft distiller, I think you really get into, for instance, I believe Glens Creek, you've met Dave there. I mean, that is the epitome of a craft distillery. While you're there, alarms are going off. It's got its own mad scientist whole thing going there, and its own story. It's in the Old Crow Distillery, right next door to Castle and Key. I mean, there's some really spectacular things that go on there, and those are, I really think, like you said, it doesn't have to be a farm, but it has to be some sort of sacrifice, or no, not sacrifice, commitment to the whiskey itself. And usually, if you're going to make that commitment, when you make a commitment to the community around you. And that's what, with buying the old ice house and fixing it, making it work, that's a commitment to the community. When you're farming your own wheat and grains, that's a commitment to the community too. It takes, not only do you have to have distillery workers, there's a restaurant on site, and you need the servers and the front house, and then you need a back house cooks. And then you got a farm, so you need a farmer. And sometimes the ownership's that, but still, farm equipment, it's a whole commitment to the community and people and jobs and that kind of thing. And that's one of the things that I always like to, small. If you're contract distilling, you have a commitment to the brand, and that doesn't mean that the whiskey's not going to be good, but the commitment to the actual community is not the same. That if you're forming that brand, you do have to have marketers and you have to have design things, but overall, you want to have that still and making your own juice, right?
And the other thing, you can have the best story on the planet, and I can think of a couple of distilleries that have just stellar stories, but in the end, the whiskey's got to taste great. It's got to be good. Somebody has to like it. Now, we all have different palates, and something I like, which I love a lot of ryes, but traditionally ryes have not been some other people's, like maybe your jam. Although you're coming around, I understand, but they're just different types of whiskey that different people like. But you've got to make something that somebody loves, because if you don't, you're not going to stay around.
Yeah, and up in Michigan, I mean, their distillers club up there, and they sell out those bottles quickly. Right now, when you talk about this, you post this up, you're not getting any negativity towards it. You're getting tons of positivity, because the whiskey now is getting a decent age. They just released their 6th year, and 7 years, you go 8, 9 years, it's going to even be better. But you're putting out quality whiskey. But then they go off and do all these, they'll pick out 4 great casks and put them together, or they'll do the Mad Angler, bourbon, and they're winning awards for it, and it's really kind of cool. So let's do the Old Louisville Whiskey Company barrel bottle breakdown of Mad Angler Manifesto. Excited to do this. Check out, when you're down in Louisville, you got to stop in and say hi to Amin at the Old Louisville Whiskey Company. An experience unlike any other. Check out the website, and in a lot of cases, you can call ahead and set up a tour and a tasting. And if you haven't hung out with Amin, it's one of the things you really got to do. You got to hang out with Amin down in old Louisville. He's becoming a craft distiller too. He just put his still in, so we got to see what we got. A couple years before that stuff starts to get aged to because he pretty much doesn't release anything 7 years or younger, and it just started running. So we got a couple years for that, but I'm looking forward to that at the same time. All right, so the Old Louisville Whiskey Company barrel bottle breakdown rating scale is 4 categories: nose, body, taste, and finish. You can get up to 4 barrel knocks on the barrel on the taste and the finish. No, on the no. On the nose and the body, and up to 5 knocks on the taste and the finish. And if one of them is exceptional, you can give it a butt up. And so I was, I went in there with somewhat of a skeptical kind of thing, because I've been up there a couple times and drove by it and just didn't. But this time I really wanted to get up there. I mean, it's from my son's hometown. So I tried to make that a thing, and was very, very, very pleasantly surprised at everything. And I bought a bottle of the Manifesto because there's an aspect on this that's very different, because it's so I'll give you a quick rundown of and what it says here. We already watched the video. It said this is 129.6. This is batch 1, which is cool. It gives you an origin story, which QR code, which is kind of cool. Take you right to the YouTube. But it's a blend of 7 whiskeys, straight whiskeys, and so that means what the mash bill on this came out to be is 28.73 corn, 27.78 rye, 23.03 barley, and 20.46 wheat. So it's well balanced, and unlike anything I've ever had, Randy. I mean, I don't think I've had that like low 25, 25, 20, basically a 25, 25, 25 4 grain, right? That's kind of crazy, right? It's not a bourbon. It's far from a bourbon at 23%, but it's still, as far as the 4 grain, the main grain, the corn is the main grain, So, all right.
I'm gonna pour a little of this while you're doing that, because they're really interesting the way their histories are kind of, well, let me rephrase that, not exactly history, not using a mini blend. But you said that's finished in maple barrels, this is finished in old-fashioned barrels. Actually have old-fashioned mix made for them, and it's stored in their barrels, and then when they empty the old-fashioned mix out, it's like the maple syrup, it just kind of sticks there. Then they put 5 of their best barrels in to make a 5-barrel small batch, which is an ultra small batch.
Right.
You're getting maple probably, and I'm getting old-fashioned mix.
What I get off of this, as far as a nose, the best way I can describe it, I get a little bit of caramel, okay? But there's, at Taco Bell, they have different sauces. And one of my favorite, I'm not a guy that loves a lot of heat, but my favorite sauce from Taco Bell is fire sauce. Because there's this roasted tomato red pepper taste on the end. And I'm getting that on the nose.
Okay.
Now they use these barrels that a specific cooperage, and Jeff thinks that some of that flavor might come from those barrels, because the other stuff they do that they don't use those barrels for doesn't have that. So he likes that, and they put it in. I can tell you this, after watching the video and having this bottle would be a bottle that if I go fishing with anyone, I would absolutely choose this bottle to go and take on, you know, as far as in my flask for, you know, a little sip if it's cold to keep you warm or whatever when you're fishing. Fantastic whiskey. We got Eric from Australia there, and he said he found a batch of Old Louisville, batch 2 of Old Louisville in Australia for $300. Now, I would tell him if that's insane that a bottle of Old Louisville made it to Australia in the first place. So, and then he said he could get like a Taylor single barrel or a Weller full proof for that price, and it was hard for him to pull the trigger. But honestly, I think I think I would pull the trigger. $300 for an Old Louisville batch 2. Good stuff. That's right around what it costs here in you know, it's not a cheap bottle here. So, all right.
It was 300, a little over 300 for a 17-year Old Louisville that I was looking at.
Yeah. And I had the one, that 140 proof one, and that one that I got, it was like $400.
I think mine was 126 proof, but I don't know. Ended up not buying it.
So the nose is unlike any other nose, and the fact that it's not medium sauce or red hot Tabasco sauce or whatever, and it's that fire sauce with a little bit caramel coming through. It's the most unique whiskey. I like it. So it's close to a Bud Up, but I'm gonna go with 4 knocks. Did you hear those?
Absolutely did, yes. And you make sure you bring a little bit of that when we go fishing in Wrigley Field.
When we go fishing in Wrigley Field?
Yeah, we're gonna fish for home runs.
Yeah.
I will bring some of this for you to try if you haven't gotten a chance yet. I don't remember if you have or not. But,
Yeah, you poured me some. It's St. Augustine. Yeah, you poured me some when I was there. You made me. That was like the first pour when I got to your place.
okay.
And it was good. All right, so
Body, what do you think about, what's it look like, what do the legs look like on it?
let's roll her. I love rolling the Glen. Hook that up. I already touched it a ton. Oh, they're really thick. Like as thick. You probably can see that. Can you?
Can a little bit. I'm sure the folks are looking on a bigger screen than I am can see it even better.
Yeah, they're thick. And it's yeah.
My wife's been wanting to go to Michigan. She may have just gotten her trip.
It's beautiful, Randy. I mean, it's like it's the lake and the North Woods aspect of it is fantastic. You know what I mean? Then you've got Lake Michigan right there. Vineyards, distilleries, lighthouses.
That sounds like St. Augustine Except you got the Atlantic Ocean.
Right, and you got palm trees. You don't got pine trees and forest. You know what I mean? And it smells like so clean and pure up there, where in Florida, most of the time, it's burning.
Well, thank you for not saying it smells like old people.
No.
I appreciate that.
Thomas Anderson said because of the finishes. Well, these are now, Thomas, they've evolved with no more finishes. It's kind of cool. And, you know, if you're not into, you know, they basically got aged whiskey coming out, and their bourbons are fantastic. Thomas Anderson said that. All right. So I'm going to give it a 3 on the body.
Okay.
And the reason why is most of this is happening in the taste and the back of your throat into the finish. That's where this thing goes crazy.
That's nice. That's nice when it does that.
The cheeks just don't get it. For 129 proof, this is drinking way easier than a 129. And then you get that. So it's sweet up front. It numbs your side mid palate. And then you get the fire. So as far as the taste goes, I would have to say I really like this, and I'm going to give that 5 knocks.
Okay. Well, if I were giving mine, you already know what I would give it. If you give it 6, I would. But,
Well, you can. That's what's a butt up.
okay, well, this one would get a butt up for a 6. Just,
For a taste?
I want the flavor of that. Just absolutely.
Yeah, that's your wheelhouse.
This one's only 111 proof, but it warms you all the way down. Just a nice Florida hug.
Well, at 129, this is warming me all the way down. And then I would say the finish is the strong point of this bourbon or this whiskey. If you're fishing, it's gonna keep you warm, and you can taste that. I think I'll taste that. I could stop drinking now, and I'll watch the rest of the All-Star game and go to bed about 11:30, and I probably will still taste this whiskey in my mouth. I would have to say it's one of the best finishes, and that's why it's so strong. It's got a 5 on the taste, which is good, but I'm gonna give it the finish, and I never do this. I'm gonna give it a 5 with the butt up.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm
Butt up.
a 4 on the finish.
This finish is amazing, Randy. Now, if you don't like roasted, have you ever had a hot sauce that has the roasted, a little bit of tomato, and then it's got that little bit of spice, but it's almost like it's burnt?
Moe's has one like that.
What?
Moe's has one like that.
So
It's almost smoked.
my wife says it's similar to a Scotch, but it's not. It doesn't have the smoky. It's got a little bit of what you'd say. What she also said is that this would go fantastic with a cigar. So the 6 and a 5 is 11. The 3 is a 14, and the 4 is an 18.
17.
What? 4, 3 is 7. 6 and 5 is 11. 18.
Right.
So I gave this an 18 out of 9.
14 and 4, yeah.
So to give the craft distillery, now, this here is good bourbon, but it's not on the level of this Mad Angler. And if you like that type of to pull that off. I've had it on a couple other bourbons that spicy, but not to the point of perfection like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's 130, and it tells you it's 130 on the. It tells you it's 130, and so this is the kind of stuff you get out of craft distillers. I mean, it's like, I can tell you, Randy, I was biased. I wasn't happy 3 years ago with the maple finished one. I thought it was but I tasted their maple finish. It's now it's like Knob Creek maple. It's good. They know how to balance, because this blender that they were able to get, I'm going to meet him. I'll find out his name, but he knows what he's doing, and they hired him 2.5 years ago. So it makes sense.
They turned you completely around then.
Oh yeah, the experience was fantastic. But I've been to Jeff Creed and had the experience is fantastic there. There's a lot of stuff you could do, but I'm not a huge fan of, like, I don't think there was, there's some of the whiskey that they produce, but they're there. They have a good story. They got the good thing, and they keep coming on, just like this place. You know what I mean? The older you get, and the more whiskey of yours ages, because honestly, there's a reason why Jim Beam is putting stuff out at 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They don't want to put it out any younger than that, because they need the barrel influence. They need it to filter out all the stuff that column stilling does. And then they need to get that flavor in there. And when they do that, those barrels will really, really get that flavor. And Alan Bishop always was saying at French Lick, respect the grain, respect the grain. And when you tasted it, he was always putting grain forward. Some people would attribute it to being too young, but that he wasn't competing against Kentucky bourbon. But before he left, I got to taste the barrel of his that was 8.5 years old, of the Lee Sinclair, and the barrel definitely was overtaking at this point the grainy taste, and it had the right age, and that was some damn good whiskey. You know what I mean?
That's what I've seen. I've got a couple of distillers picks from St. Augustine, and a couple of single barrels that are just light years ahead of some of the stuff that I've got. I've got a bottle here that's like 8 years old, and I'm scared to open it, because I know how they've come in the last 8 years, how much better it'll be, or the stuff that I've got now will be than that, just because of the fact that they didn't have the age in the barrels, like you said, and they didn't have a lot of that stuff. Now, another thing is the heat factor makes a difference in it. Us being down here in Florida, and Harrison Brothers, which I had a picture of here earlier, being in Texas, it doesn't take as long to age. If you did like some of these Canadian whiskeys, I've got a 28-year-old Canadian whiskey back here. You age something 28 years in Florida or Texas, you couldn't drink it.
Well, no. There actually, if you did it in Florida, Texas, Arizona, Las Vegas, whatever, there would be nothing left. That I was talking to who is it from Aaron from Smoke Wagon, because he brings the stuff down there and brings MGP out there and ages it in Las Vegas, and it doesn't have to be out there very long to do what he wants it to do. And it's like there was a distillery there in Las Vegas, and he said they put it in the barrel, and after 4 years it was all gone. It's dry. The barrel basically will dry out, and it's hot, and it will evaporate the whiskey. What happens in Kentucky is winter. I mean, if it was the Kentucky summer all year long, there's a certain amount of humidity in that summer, but if it was that all year long, the whiskey would be gone.
I don't remember the exact temperature, but I think somewhere around 50 degrees, and Walker probably knows. somewhere 50 to 55 degrees, it basically quits aging until it gets back warmer than that.
Well, it doesn't quit aging. It just all goes back into the surface. Then becomes, it's all back in the barrel. There's a point where it all just comes out of the wood and goes in the barrel. If it's in the barrel and it's 20 degrees, that's even more so. But they even say the chemical compound of getting that whiskey cold and then heating it up and then it not just being in the barrel, but making it cold and hot.
I don't know if you knew that I used to teach chemistry.
Yeah.
So when I say it quits aging, I'm talking about the chemical processes slow down.
Oh yeah, but the wood, especially with the wood.
Right. And so that's what I mean by quits aging, is it slows that process down.
And hence that's why people always try and rapid age by heating it up artificially. And then they say rapid aging, and sometimes they put it they rapid age it by heating and cooling it artificially, and then also maybe ultrasounding it and vibrating it with wood chips in it and everything. But there's no substitute for years in the barrel. Now there's a reason why Buffalo Trace makes such good damn whiskey. It's because they do steam heat their rickhouses in the wintertime. They do. It's a fact. You can see it. You go there. You can see all the pipes. Same pipes that E.H. Taylor's been used since the late 1800s. So that's really a cool thing. The other place that it has that ability is Castle and Key, which was Taylor's other distillery. I don't know if those steam pipes work at that distillery yet, or if they're ever gonna. But he was a very, very, he was breaking down boundaries and doing things that nobody else were doing. And there's no way Buffalo Trace was being. We rapid age our bourbon. Their 9 year is their 9 year, and it tastes really good because they basically heat and let their rickhouses cool in the wintertime, which gets that process to keep going, in and out of the barrel. It's very important for the whiskey to be in the barrel, but it's also important for it to come out for a little bit. You know what I mean? When it comes back out, it passes through that filter, that charcoal filter again. So there's a lot of things that so many people do, but it's always fun. In Michigan, their thing is their summers, there was some heat, but it's not like Kentucky heat. It's going to be cool in September and October up there, and it's going to be still 80s and 90s in Kentucky for a little bit longer, so they get that. I honestly think that when you're talking about Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, you're talking about the perfect aging weather for whiskey, where you get enough winter, but you get enough heat from the summer. When you get into Wisconsin and Michigan, there's probably too much cooling and not enough heating. And all I'm going to say is, I think, honestly, global warming, it has been a really good friend to bourbon. It's one of the advantages of global warming.
Ricky Edwards and Walker both kind of agreed with you. The wood controls the action of the liquids, what Ricky said, and Walker said that basically we were both right, but he liked your description a little bit better as to why the chemical reaction slows down, is because it gets out of the wood and sits into the barrel.
Well, that's like, you were right in the fact that, look, they proved it. They stuck Heaven Hill 12-year in a steel barrel for 13 years, and when they released it this past year, it's been not distributed for 25 years. that 13 years in that stainless steel container, in my opinion, honestly, it still does its aging with oxidizing, and it gets, when you heat something up and cool it and heat it up and cool it and heat it up and cool it. Now, if it was in a controlled room, even just sitting in the controlled room, that basically picked up a dusty flavor that you pick up when a bottle sits for 20 years, when the whiskey sits in for 20 years in the bottle. So there is some sort of chemical composition change that happens even if it's not in a wooden barrel. Just my opinion.
I think that's actually right. You know, the wood certainly has a huge influence on it, but there's still on a atomic level, you're still going to have some chemical changes going on.
Yeah. Well, I think
we're at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we gotta say goodbye on the audio, and I will finish this up.
Thank you all so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it and hopefully learned a little bit. Jeff's got a lot of knowledge he shared with us, and we really appreciate that.
Randy, yourself too. I mean, this is how we learn, by going to all the different distilleries. It's one thing that we both love, is that everybody has a different take somewhat on what they're doing, and it's so exciting. People always ask me, are you ever going to commit to a distillery? I've had job offers before, or, you know, I could work at this distillery and promote them through, you know, I've had it on different levels, and I love the distilling process. But it really comes down to the people that you meet, and the people doing it always are so creative and such great. They have their shoes off and their bare feet to the ground, and this is why. Yeah, and this is why, whether it be somebody who's moonshining in the, you know, at Hell's Half Acre, or what Alan Bishop and Steve Brasher and what they're doing over at Mount Vernon. That's a great, that Mount Vernon, I really believe, is one of the great craft distilleries on here. Plus Stolen Wolf in Pennsylvania. You can go down to Liberty Pole in Pennsylvania. Every single state has their what would you say, their craft distilleries, and those are the distilleries that are making up the history of our country. So there's brands that keep coming back, and those make up, you know, but at the same time, there's a certain amount of what would you say, marketing, or it's not quite the same as those startup distilleries, those craft distilleries. I think this time period will be very, very telling, in the fact that there's going to be some more big brands that come out of those craft distilleries. Plus, it'll be the time that we live in of the craft distillery. You agree with me?
I want to, just real quickly from my side, I want to give a shout out to the guys at Garrison Brothers. They did a release here, but they turned their release into a relief effort, and they raised funds, and they donated $1 for every dollar that was collected at the gates in donations on Saturday. And they raised, I don't remember the final number, probably over $10,000 for relief effort for the floods there just south of them. And for them to do, they didn't have to do that. That took a lot of extra work on their part. And I really appreciate all they did there. And I appreciate everything that St. Augustine has done. They have 175,000 visitors come in every year. And they promote the entire city. They promote the culture. The part of St. Augustine that the distillery is in is called Lincolnville. It was an African-American community, a slave community, and it was the first community to be freed with the Emancipation Proclamation. It became a free city, basically because it was a slave city, at the Emancipation Proclamation. And that's where there still lives, and that's where they helped build that community. They donate to Habitat to Humanity. They help build houses. They do all kinds of stuff there. And I'm sure your guy up in Michigan probably does the same thing. That's the way a craft distillery distinguishes itself. It gets involved in the community and puts out good product.
Yeah, and then up in Michigan, they are about conserving, the land around them.
Yeah.
All right.
These guys recycle their water. They don't want to waste their water. They're all about conservation and just making the community as good as it can be.
So they have a water treatment plant attached to their bathrooms.
No, they recycle the water that they used to.
I know, for heating and cooling and doing
Right.
the distillery. Yes. All right, everybody. www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Make sure that you check it out. You can get t-shirts, Glenn's. Hopefully, I'm trying to get some bourbon balls together, but it's, once again, things move so fast. It's already Tuesday night, and to get to be leaving with bourbon balls on Friday morning would be almost impossible. Thursday night, I haven't decided what we're doing, but look for us on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be podcasting live at 11, or between 11 and 12 o'clock at Barton 1792 with Ross Cordellison. We will be podcasting at between 11 and 12. Look for that live with Barry Brinegar at RD1's brand new, beautiful distillery. And then on Sunday, I would say probably between 11 and 12, look for us at Whiskey Thief with Lisa Roper Wicker and Walter Zausch for a live podcast there. So we got the weekend covered. Gonna stop in at Revival Vintage Spirits on Sunday on our way back. Plus, got a lot of stuff. I booked a room at the new Trail Hotel for Friday night, and we'll be staying there. Hopefully, you might see a little review of it while we're there in Bardstown. Down with Whiskey. So, Whiskey, our other podcasting associate, and this should be a really good weekend. I've been looking forward to this for so long, and everything's panning out. Hopefully to see Aaron Harris from Green River on Friday night also, because him and his wife come down to Bardstown on the weekends, and hopefully see Sandy No down there, and it's just going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to hitting the Jim Beam, Lux Row, Bardstown Bourbon Company, Preservation Distillery. I'm going to check in and pick up a couple bottles at each place. So, all right, and then remember.
If you don't like the trail, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Of course, I'm going to like it. It's not. I'm not in a suite, Randy. That suite looks sweet. I mean, you're. This is going to be the coolest thing. And we will podcast from your room at the brand new Trail Motel in Bardstown, Kentucky. All right, and then remember, not WW. We've already done that. Remember, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X, and then also on all the major podcast formats, mainly Spotify and Apple. But no matter where you listen or watch us, make sure you like, listen, comment, subscribe, and leave good feedback. And remember, good bourbon equals good times, good friends. Thank you, Whiskey Doctor, for joining us tonight. Remember to drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive, and live your life uncut, unfiltered, and hopefully I set this right.
Whiskey on the rocks, or sipping on a bowl. We love to spend time with our crew. Listen along and find out how that could be you. Spending time with the boys you don't want to miss us. It's just twice a week. There's even some across the park. I can't wait until the next time we meet, because I'm always looking for the next bourbon. Yes, please, I'll have it neat. So show me the way to another whiskey bar, where it'll be. It won't be too far. With friends and family close, we will never be alone. Remember, the Scotchy Bourbon Boys.
All right, there we
So,
go.
Thank everybody for joining us.
Yep, we're still live on YouTube. Do you want me to dump this to a couple people to come on?
I'm fine with that. I can hang out for a little while. I had already told Walker that I'm leaving by 11, but I'm fine.
I'm going to be leaving by about. I got 15 minutes, but I will put it out there for you guys. I don't even know what to call you guys. What are you, the?
Ricky, join us if you can. Ricky Edwards, if you can join us, please do.
I will put the invitation right in the. Here we go.
Eric, if you can join us, we'd love to have you too. I assume John and Walker will be with us.
Just click the link.
Matt, maybe you can hang too.
If Matt's still there.
I don't know. I hadn't heard from him in a while. Hopefully.
All right. I think that went well.
I did too. The knowledge you got blows me away.
I love. So when you get to distill, be part of them distilling while they're distilling, and then talk about this with the distillers, what they're trying to accomplish. Then you just kind of keep going to, like, for instance, Ross Cornelison. He, believe it or not, he's at Barton 1792 on this large place, but he and his knowledge is of, or his perspective is from a craft distiller.
John,
What's up, guys?
and you know, it's kind of like when I practiced dentistry for 30 years, I still treated each patient one patient at a time. That was the most important thing going on, was when I was in front of that patient, even if I had, 20 patients that day. And you have to treat each barrel or each vat needs to be your special, you have a relationship with it.
Well, the person that had the relationships with barrels, hey, Walker, do you think if I buy the current shelfer of chicken cock bourbon, Greg will be mad?
No, because he made it.
No, as long as you drink it and don't, go overboard with the advertisements, as long as you don't start raving in the wrong forums. But I think
Well, boys, I'm gonna eat Friday before we visit.
that sounds good to me.
Let's see, hold on. Well, yeah,
I think we give credit to our friend who helped make that what it is.
yeah, and Tyler's still there, and they're going to be at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and it's going to be bizarre for me.
I'm still going to go and try it. I'm still going to do some things. But at the same time, if I see somebody that is relevant to some of the other discussion, I would probably have a different conversation with that individual than I would with Tyler. Tyler knows.
Yeah.
I'll have to explain things to him.
Anybody replacing Greg?
I don't know if they do either. I think they may just be trying to ride that out. Separately, I'm sipping this. Randy, this actually resembles one of our other things that we were talking about. I need to go back and retaste my Garrison Brothers and my Detling to figure out what I think it tastes more like. But this is a 4-year product, and the one I got down beside me from Bourbon Festival is a 5-year product that I picked up, and I didn't open this one yet. You have that Tennessee Volunteers bottle. This is the older brother of that bottle, probably.
Okay.
This was chosen for the Bourbon Festival.
Well, this, for y'all, so y'all know what I've been drinking here all night is liquid IV.
Good. It just looks like moonshine, but it's liquid IV.
After yesterday.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I'm glad you're still here with us, brother. I'm thankful you didn't get alcohol poisoning with 29.
Yeah.
But you gotta realize I'm doing quarter ounce, or
That's true. So it's like 15, which just means that you're having a night like Tiny and I had before.
yeah.
You could tell you were having a night.
Your filter, so I love you to death, my friend. Your filter was not what it is when you have not had that much.
What the heck time did you call me today,
Also,
Randy?
no, we weren't on YouTube or Facebook.
No, that's absolutely true.
Hey,
Randy, you
Hey.
called me earlier today, and you're like, I'm like, how you doing? I just woke up.
Ricky's there. Ricky, click the. I'm gonna send again. Click it and come on if you can. Come on with us. I'm gonna hit it again.
Got someone. We've either got Ricky or Matt Leisen.
Where
Someone's still muted.
I don't got nobody besides us four.
No, there's
No,
no,
we got another person coming in. Let's see. That looks
it's not
like
on your
Matt.
screen yet, Jeff.
What's up, fellas?
Matt.
Okay, that's Matt. So Ricky, click the new Zoom link.
Yeah.
Talk. So I know you made the barrels for Greg Schneider and Chicken Cock. Are you still there? Is the question. I'm trying to get Ricky to come on. Just click that Zoom link right there. All you got to do, I just put it there. You click it, and it'll take you on your phone or computer to us.
I have to enter the numbers manually. Mine won't let me do that, but hopefully he gets the picture. Ricky would love to have you on.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, how have you been?
I'm doing good, man.
Good. I'm gonna bite the bullet. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and open this one that I bought a Bourbon Festival from these guys.
Hey,
And this is a 5-year product.
Matt, is there an echo in there?
First look at that reminded me of a wrestling ring.
What did?
His big table.
What's going on? Why is it so big?
I got a new stand, and I don't know what I'm doing with this thing over here yet. I haven't even shot a video with this thing yet. And it's really wide.
Yes, it is.
Well, I got a bunch of phone calls today. I got a call asking my size for my shirt, for a polo shirt for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
There you go.
And while I was on the phone to them, I got a call from Diane telling me she had me a full ticket to Bourbon on the Bank.
See, it's good to know us. I will tell you this. Oh God, I just wanted to say.
That was next on the list. Apparently, she has a list of people for cancellations.
We didn't remember to talk about as far as a craft distillery, one of the better craft distilleries out there. Did you see that Royce Neely was offered a chance to buy Stitzel Weller for $36 million?
Yeah,
Yeah, without a building.
What?
Without a building.
No, without this distillery building. Okay, they can't sell the distillery building because it has a space.
Gotcha.
There.
Would you have gotten any juice?
Well, if it's $36 million, yes, I imagine that everything that's there would be his. Bullet owns it. Bullet
Because they already gotten it all out.
Bullet owns it. Well, Buffalo Trace bought the inventory from Stitzel Weller. guys, the bus tour. I was talking to Matt, or not Matt, Brad Bonds today, and he's gonna get us a couple of early '90s Maker's Marks, but then he's gonna get us yeah, that's what I thought, Walker. And then he's gonna get us he's gonna get us a bottle. He's gonna get us something that's special. So the bus
You've
tour.
already told me he's getting us something that's special. You led with the right thing.
Well, that's the '90s. He's gonna get us something from like the '60s or the '50s.
Well, Randy knows one of the best bottles that I had on my shelf was like a 2011 Maker's Mark that was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
And we paid what, $60, $54 for it?
50. Like 50 with tax, so somewhere between 50 and 54. I think you're exactly right, Randy.
Well, when you get into the '90s, it's high 180s.
This one, I'm
That's
still
okay.
got what they have.
Sounds okay to me.
Yeah, the bus tour is going to be, and then just think about what Nash is bringing. I mean, it's just going to be crazy.
So Matt, if I fly, I'm not going to have as much as I had last year, but I'll make it work.
Sounds good to me.
Well, I'm only gonna drink 3/4 of a bottle.
I'm going to call Randy tomorrow and ask him about ever since the podcast, all people ask me about is shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to call Randy tomorrow and find out what the shipping thing is.
And I need to know about shipping back here, because I will buy a lot more if I can ship back here.
He needs a direct. What's a direct Zoom link?
Hold on.
I can't click on the link ever. I have to put in numbers. Because the blue thing isn't tappable for me for some reason.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring this one for you guys.
Please?
That's, yeah. Okay. You know what? Let me switch windows here.
I don't think you'll have anybody say no to that one.
Who was I talking, was that, John, was I talking to you about that this morning?
Which one, Randy? I'm sorry.
The Wheelery Weller.
Might have mentioned it, but you said
I
you were
was talking
bringing
to
it on
somebody,
the
I
bus.
was talking to somebody, and I said I can take and put some of the special reserve in there to fill it up.
Well, I got a George T. Stagg that has Jim Beam Black in it.
Sounds good to me. I picked
You
this
want some
up,
more?
my wife picked this up for me today.
Look at that, Walker.
She grabbed that for me today.
Yeah, it's a 14 year.
Yeah.
I got that. I won that in the lottery. I wasn't excited about it. Hey, since you got it, then we might as well.
186, 184.
I got an MSRP from Ohio.
That's what.
I wanted the cellar age.
Ours was MSRP from Florida.
They had 2024 cellar aged in that lottery, and I didn't win it, and I was bummed. And then I went to Maker's Mark and brought Walker along at Christmas time, and we ended up getting cellar ages. Right? You met us there, right? Or was that just me, Nash, and Roxy? Walker.
I'm sure Walker's listening.
You got a nice still there.
That's Ricky.
Probably type Ricky on Facebook.
Ricky's
I
right.
was there. Nash didn't make it because Nash had an incident with his brothers.
No, that was when we went and didn't get cellar aged, but
Yeah, that was when you did the night tour.
yeah. When we did the night tour, me and Roxy and Nash all got a cellar aged. Hey, Ricky.
Is Ricky on? I don't see him.
Oh, it's Nate Kraft. Hey, Nat.
Yeah.
Hey, Nate. Is his sound on?
Hey, you guys, I saw the Facebook thing and I'm late to the game. I'm packing up for a farmer's market tomorrow, but
Excellent.
Hey,
thanks for the invite, y'all.
Yeah, welcome in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to show you guys my, I have a farm distillery out in Maryland where we grow Bloody Butcher corn and
Ah,
we make bourbon now. This is,
Oh, that's awesome, Nate.
this is old label stuff. We call it a red.
now, where are you in Maryland?
Say again, Maryland?
Is that where you say you are?
Yeah, Western Maryland, between Frederick and Hagerstown, 2 hours outside DC.
You need to be more specific.
2 hours outside DC.
Well, that's not specific. You're past Crofton, are you, I mean, are you up
Northwest,
against fire, the National Fire Academy? Where are you?
Oh, that's Thurmont. We're west of Thurmont, so
Okay,
Boonesboro, Maryland.
okay. Yeah, I got you. I grew up in the DC area,
Okay, I grew up in
and I went to
North.
University of Maryland, so,
Nice.
for a little while.
Well, we
I
were,
like that, I like your label, it's beautiful.
yeah.
That's my baby. That's what I bought my farm 6 years ago.
That dovetails well with a friend of ours named Alan Bishop, who very much talks about respecting the grain. So that looks beautiful.
Yeah. That's Bloody Butcher, and that's like the foundation for everything we do here.
yeah. Hey, Nate, I'm drinking on one from a local distillery about 60 miles from me. It's a Bloody Butcher too, so I like it.
What are the, what's it like on the nose and palate? That's a bourbon?
Yeah.
Nice. We
I'm
all
gonna mute myself
here.
later.
You know,
I
I'm
really
glad
like
to
grain
visit
forward.
your son. My folks still live, mom still lives up in the DC area, my son, daughter-in-law are up that way.
Cool. Yeah, we're just 2 hours out of there, so head west on 70.
You know, 2 hours is what I used to want. So run up 270 to 70,
270 to 70. Yep.
then head west like I'm going over to Pennsylvania.
Head west. Yep.
I've been through there for sure.
Cool.
Matter of fact, that's how I went when I went over to the, party at Christmas over in Ohio.
Oh, good. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to Deep Creek, and that's Garrett County, so the furthest western Maryland county.
Right.
Our biggest farm markets are out there, surprisingly. Not Bethesda. It's
Oh.
out in Boonies, because people love corn liquor, fruit in a jar, and
So my son, his wife is a costume designer for plays, and there's a city, they lived in Maryland for like 9 months because there was in this city where there was a theater that's quite well known in Maryland, but it's not known for its water. Because the water was polluted. Do you know what city that is?
I don't know, like, where we're at.
Crofton, I think.
Oh,
What is it?
I'm thinking Crofton, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
water's great. It's limestone aquifer.
Oh no, I wasn't saying your water was bad. It was the town's water far west. It was like as far west as you could go, right on the border of Maryland and I want to say,
Virginia, maybe?
yeah.
Like out in Oakland, and McHenry, Western Maryland, it's a totally different aquifer.
Yep.
And it's like Pittsburgh water is stinky and it's not suitable for making good whiskey.
Not Westminster, is it?
Westminster's all right, but
I'm asking him, is that the name of the theater?
That might have been what it was.
That or the Maryland Theater in Hagerstown?
yeah,
No, I think it was Hagerstown.
yeah, that's where the symphony's at.
Yeah, the Maryland Theater.
Yeah.
It's not huge west, if I remember right, if you tell me.
It's more central than west.
Right.
We are where Western Maryland begins.
Okay.
The Cumberland Theater also is out in western Maryland.
Yeah, and what you were saying about the water makes total sense because, Pennsylvania is known for iron production. And iron in your water is not good for whiskey.
Nope.
That's why certain parts of Alabama can't produce whiskey from the river water. They have to get it from a spring, pretty much from a spring. But once we do, it's great water.
Yep. All right. So you're working late.
Oh yeah, I was started at 9 after family breakfast, and then just go. We also do a thing called Harvest Hosts, where people with campers come and stay with us. So it was work all day, farmers market 4 to 7, and then my son had Boy Scouts, went to that. Came here, did a tasting and a tour with the campers, and then back to that.
Yeah, you're not gonna get any complaints from us about scouting.
Yeah.
Walker and I both got the highest rank you can get there.
That's awesome. That it's kind of cool that you joined us on the night we talked. We actually have a small craft distiller on the night that we talked about small craft distilleries.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw that tag thing, and then I'm not the greatest at social media, so.
There's nothing wrong with that, Nate. If you're a good guy and you have a great story and you make good whiskey, I'm more than happy to have you. And even if you didn't make great whiskey, but you like whiskey.
Yeah. I think it's all good. Cool. Well, I'm gonna finish packing up. Thanks for hanging out, and I look forward to talking about whiskey with you guys again.
All right,
Thank you so
super.
much.
Thanks, Nate.
Have a good
right.
one.
Good night.
Have a great night, Nate.
Cheers.
Appreciate you.
Cheers.
I mean that's cool as hell, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Meet a new distiller. Yeah.
I mean only on the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Saturday night, I met, and I don't know if I told you this or not, but I met a guy from India.
Yeah, you did. Yes, yeah, you probably forgot you told me, but you did tell me.
He works with Indiri, and he wants to, he wants to give us some whiskey for us to do on the podcast
100%.
because we got so many folks from India.
All right.
I tried from these he had, and they were both very, very different. One was 3 different barrels, or 4, I think it was 3 different barrels, and it was wonderful. Another one was a single barrel.
Perfect.
Now, we need to do something else too, or I would suggest we do. It's gonna be tough for you though, Tony. We need to get hats with Scotchy Bourbon Boy logos on them, but you're gonna have to get it on the back end of them.
Just so you know, the way you get hats with the Scotchy Bourbon Boys logo is you talk to CT. And
Have hats?
what?
He has hats with the logo on it?
He's purchased them in the past, and I have 2. He's got a bunch if you want. I've never done hats before. T-shirts are hard enough. It's like, there's a lot of upfront money, and I'm the only one that upfronts money. So when CT was upfronting the money for the hats, I wasn't complaining. I will tell you, John, and I'll tell you, I contacted Martin Duffy, who lives in Chicago, okay? So Saturday night, I'm booking to go to Chicago and hang out with Martin and go to probably right after supper or before supper on Saturday. And we're going to go to Delilah's. Have you ever been to Delilah's?
No.
Have you heard of it?
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah, the bourbon, and then there's another bourbon bar just across the street he's going to take us to. But then we're going to walk down and we're going to go where Derlinger, was that Derringer?
wonderful steaks.
Hey, Ricky.
I'm just trying a different direction.
All right. So I will turn this up.
Cheers, Ricky.
Hey, cheers, guys. Cheers.
Hey, Ricky.
Cheers.
Ricky, I'll drink one for you because you're probably driving.
No, he's
No. I actually turned the light off so you guys can see me.
Can you see him, guys?
No.
I see now.
Angle it a little bit away from your light.
Which?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
there you
better.
go, right there.
All right, you guys can see him.
Still don't see him, but
Yeah.
But if he turns it straight into his like light where the other camera is, man, it just the whole screen is white.
Hold on, is it still white? Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta angle it like left or right.
You
Keep
got.
going.
I gotta do something because I can't see what y'all are talking.
Oh, I can see. Let's see.
Keep going. Not that far.
Why don't you just text them the Zoom link?
I did. So
Yeah. You know what? I'm not that, I don't know. I just couldn't get it to fucking work. I said, well, let me try this direction. And here we are.
all right, let's try here. I'm trying. I'm gonna see. Uh-oh.
If I can give Ricky any advice, whenever the Zoom link comes out, I screenshot it in case I lose it, and then I switch back and forth between the Zoom app and this app. That's how I tend to do it. So I can use the numbers. Yeah.
That's what I should have
So
done.
then I have a similar method.
Actually, I even wrote it
I'm
down
doing
and,
my 55 inch
it
screen, that's
it
why I
didn't
send
put me
over.
to the background, and I don't know why, but,
Well, you're here.
all right, guys.
Everybody can hear him, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody can hear me? I can't see any of you guys, and I want to tell you, I love watching the show, and I love hearing the comments, and my wife's gone tonight, so I had you on YouTube on the TV on one side, which I muted because you were 2 to 3 seconds behind from what was going on Facebook on my phone. It was fun. It was a fun evening. I love the whiskey business.
Yeah, all of us pretty much do. And you know, are you still working at the West Virginia Great Barrel Company?
Oh, well, I'm an owner. I'm a partner.
Okay, so you're there.
No, I'm not there. I'm not inside. We had
Like I do my dental office.
there's a
When the kid
tremendous
hits the fan
amount
and,
of
oh, excuse me, when the stuff crap hits the fan, it
upgrades.
shows up.
that's there at that plant.
Okay.
And those operations. I am the guy. I am the main owner of all of our sawmills. We got 3 stave mills and 1 sawmill, all in West Virginia. You know, to produce the wood for the cooperage,
Okay.
and that's where we're at. And I really can't say a whole lot about it because there's a lot of
Yeah.
legal things.
Yeah, and you don't. Yeah, definitely. It's and you don't want to wreck the thing you got going, but you know, I get it.
Yeah, well, I would say this. I know how well Greg.
Because about 5 years ago, I bought some property right there at the Tennessee-Kentucky Virginia border in the Cumberland Gap. And I went out to a sawmill and literally picked hemlock logs and had them cut the logs into 6x8 rectangles for me to build a log cabin with. I appreciated how well the guys at the sawmill did in giving me good straight logs to be able to build that log cabin with.
Did you make it watertight and fill it up with whiskey?
No, I was actually, it was so far back in the woods, I was afraid that people were gonna break in and make meth in it.
So okay, and yeah, we know Greg. You know, you were an intricate part of bringing Greg in. I know that, and always.
Greg and I are, in my opinion, Greg and I, you know what they say when your friends past 3 to 4 years, 5 years,
Yeah.
you're old friends, and Greg and I are starting to become old friends. I really think a lot of Greg.
Yeah. Same here. And most people who meet Greg think a lot of Greg.
But he's very direct. He's very stern. And I'll say one of my favorite stories with Greg. He was trying to train some of our very first graders on how to read the grain on these staves to make barrel staves. And she said, "Well, what's the pink wood? The pink wood in this white oak as it comes through. When you get a really good white oak, it goes through." And Greg said, "Well, I'm going to let Ricky answer that for you." And I said, "Well, as a bear shit under that tree, when it was about 35 to 40 years old, I said, this is probably a 100-year-old tree now." I said, "So that pink ring, because they'd been eating pokeberries, and the shit went up through the sap and it left it pink in there." And Greg said, "I swear to God, I couldn't have done better myself because I had not known it."
That's.
But no, the wood. I think really what I learned from wood. I've been in the wood industry. I actually did a presentation this past week, or on Monday. I've been in the wood industry for 32 years, and as I've learned, the reason I got infatuated with the barrel industry, I didn't need the barrel. Without me saying anything further, I really didn't need the barrel to begin with, but I like the science of it.
Yeah.
And when you take a whiskey barrel, the circumference of a whiskey barrel is 82 cubic inches. And it might have, they might be 12, there might be 25 staves, they might be 30 staves, they might be 32 staves that make up the circumference of that whiskey barrel. And this is where I wanted to argue with you, sir, earlier in your podcast about stainless steel, because there's no rings in stainless steel, it's flat. In each growth ring in a tree, there's teloses.
Right.
And in between that teloses, you've got the natural sugars that go through that each ring. So the rings you have in those staves, the natural sugars you have, you put into that liquid, which you put into it.
Right.
And that is phenomenal. And it got to the point where actually the West Virginia barrel, I did design that. We can make you a barrel that says, hey, you're going to have a barrel beyond that. And that's where Greg and I were on this same page before. We can make you a barrel that you can get all this extra shit, but people don't want that when you're in it. When you get, if you're a small craft distillery or a small cooperage, you can do that. But if you want to go big, no, you got to do what the big guys want. I mean, we make barrels for a lot of the big guys, and we still do from time to time, but we can't put our rivets or our identification on those barrels. And it's really went downhill because we got our debt load so far ahead of us that we're in trouble. And we'll just see how it shakes out in the next year or two.
Yep. That's now when we were talking on the podcast, I'm not saying that what happens in the barrel isn't what needs to happen to the whiskey. What all I was saying is that when you do keep it in the steel, those stainless steel containers, the whiskey does still keep chemically changing to an extent with oxygen and cold and heat, but nothing compared to picking up what it picks up in the wood. There's no doubt about it. But it does change as you go forward. Just like in the bottle. If I was able to open this, take a taste of it right now, and then seal it again completely and let it sit for 20 years, I'm telling you, at 20 years, it's not going to taste the same as it did when, that 20-year gap. There's stuff that happens to that whiskey. Whiskey is always changing, but it will have nothing to do with adding more sugars. And, that's one reason why it's charred, is that not only are the sugars there, but then now they're caramelized. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
and just what you guys did. So have you bought a bottle of chicken cock off the shelf recently, now that that's the stuff that was in your barrels?
No, but I want to tell you something. Right here in my bar, I'm sitting in my bar right now. I don't know if you guys can see. I got a pretty good stash of stuff myself. My Greg brought me one of the first bottles from the first round, and he sat right across from where I'm sitting now. And I make a little bit of my own. And he and I were sitting here, and I gave him a bottle of my booze, and he gave me a bottle of his booze, and we went through, and I said, "Holy shit!" He's like, "What's that?" I said, "I did not know that Old Crow came in such a fancy bottle." And I pissed him the fuck off. I pissed him off. It was fine. But no, I do have some. But that's the type of person I am too. I like to just hit at you. I like to poke. But that's where we're at. I love Greg.
Same here. All of us have spent time with him. He's been down here with me. We shared the last pour of a Booker's Rye that I had gotten from Fred and Sandy. No, it was the last pour, and we took a picture and I sent it to them. And that's what bourbon's about: friends, friends, people that you can share stuff with. I mean,
I have so much money invested in bourbon. I'm in my 50s now. By the time I get 60, I'm going to start drinking it all because, if I die, my kids and other people are going to drink it and, screw them. I bought it for me.
That's all, Rick. So I got 950 bottles that surround me. And my kid, I've convinced my youngest son that he likes bourbon. So that's a good thing. But now I got to teach him how to drink it properly, because he's 26, and I was there this past weekend and in Michigan, and we were at the Iron Fish Distillery with him and his wife. And when I came back, we had done a flight. Each of us had done a flight, and then his wife kept going with us. When we went over, and then there was a little 3 half-ounce pours that you could taste, and then we met Jeff, who was the COO, and he took us on a tour and started pouring us stuff that, like barrel strength this and barrel strength of that in the lab, and then we were having tastes of it, all throughout the whole distillery, and she kept giving hers to him. So when we got home, I was done. I was done for the night. He's like, "I want one more pour." So I poured him like an ounce of something, And he took the bottle and made it 2 ounces. And I, unbeknownst to me, he had another one, and that was not what he should. It should have been done when we got back home. I got to teach him that. Otherwise, you're gonna get in trouble with your wife.
Yeah. Walker, I found another one of those today.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know how many of them I've got now.
This one's a little different.
It's, I
So-
can't tell because you got it on top and we can't read it. You were
Yeah,
showing a private barrel a second ago. Is that it?
it's the same. Yeah.
So
So
you
this,
got it pushed up against the thing
A
so
little
hard.
bit.
All I see says famous old brand.
So that's the
just
chicken
I'm trying
cock.
to show the logo itself. I'm not trying to show the label. So
Yeah,
Ricky,
you
I
see what I
wanted
got
to
over
say
here
thank
on this
you to
chicken
you and
cock.
to West Virginia Great Barrel Company, because my friend Greg brought a product to where I was stationed in Kentucky and released one at Fort Knox, Kentucky, where I was stationed. So I want to thank you on behalf of us and myself. I gifted these bottles to my friends there for Christmas. So at least a couple of the folks on right now have bottles of this because of Greg and because of what West Virginia Great Barrel Company. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. I hear that. I thank you. I thank you too. I appreciate your service, sir, and everybody
Well, thank
else that serves for us. It's we couldn't have this freedom if it wasn't for what our forefathers and our people are going through, or our veterans and our current soldiers are going through. I can't be more proud of where we're at. I thank you, sir.
This one says Commander's Choice. It's just not really clear when I show it on the screen. And it's got a picture of the gold vault with a chicken in the yard. Which is funny because it's a yard where no man could survive, but there's a chicken on it.
You say, well, you cook, you might be
Rumored, and
drunk,
this
you
is
never
pure
know.
speculation, that is the only place in the United States where there are active landmines. But that's just rumor.
It's like Super Nash is on. Let's see if I can. I'll try doing the invite again. See if he can join us.
Gotta get better with my jokes. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But we love you anyway.
There's the.
Invite, please, yes.
Guys, I'm about to kick out though. I gotta go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get up at 5, work till 5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I gotta load up the podcast and everything. So
I'll see you guys. Probably, I'm gonna try to get on Thursday. I gotta work on Thursday. Full job. So.
Matt, call Matt. What time are you going to bed?
Me?
Right now?
Well, I'm about to go shower and go to bed.
Probably after you shower, because, what we were talking about today, what I called you about, we still need to talk.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
oh,
Are you gonna
Matt,
get on for a minute? I'm
Hey.
about to shower and I'll get you up, but
Am I gonna be up for a minute? I never go to bed before 1.
all right. Hey, Matt. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All those days there'll be lives midday.
Okay.
All right.
As long as I'm not
Two
in
things.
I'll kick on Friday at work.
Yes.
Two things I want to do to all you guys before you leave. First off, thank you. The West Virginia Barrel needs all the help they can get. And anybody that's interested in barrels, let us know what you need. We'll fix that up. Second of all, the Shriners, Vindicatum Shriners, Charleston, West Virginia. We can use all the support we can get to. And love you guys. Love what you do here.
Thanks,
Take
Ricky.
care.
Thanks.
That's all I got. But you guys take care. It's great seeing you. And in 2028, I'll be the potentate in Charleston, and all of you got to come because we're gonna have a whiskey bar in Charleston, West Virginia.
That sounds awesome.
I might even have to talk to you, sir, about fixing that up, and we'll see how that shakes out.
All right, for sure. For sure.
Talking to you, sir. Nice meeting you.
Yes.
It's a pleasure, guys. I love watching and getting on. All right.
All right.
See you guys.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
good.
Good night.
Man,
That's
you know, they
funny.
talk about the difference between strength and non-barrel strength. I noticed that the most tonight. It's insane, the difference. I've got the
No kidding.
honeydew from Garrison Brothers, and then I've got their cast strength that I picked up. Gave the bottle to a friend of mine. He gave me a sample. Man, that's almost worth another flight out to Texas to grab 2 more bottles.
I'm telling you, when I was, I went through the whole flight at Iron Fish, and their 4-grain, their maple cask, and then they took us, when he took us back, he let us taste it all at cask strength, which they release in their Distillers Club, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Let me sign up.
Well, my son's gonna pick up the bottles because it's $3.50. You get 3 bottles. You get 4 events and 2 tours or what? So it's like it's worth it. So I'm gonna probably sign up and have him just pick up the bottles for me.
Right. And they're doing that. Bardstown's starting to do that. And I say Bardstown, the several different distilleries in that area. I've gotten notices from about 5 distilleries recently about joining different clubs like that. That must be the hot thing for 2025. Let me ask you two, what did y'all think about the show tonight? Did you like it?
Yeah,
I liked it.
Did you think that we actually accomplished what we were trying to accomplish?
I think there's a lot more ground to cover, but I think you did.
Yeah.
I was concerned that we spent too much time on the 2 distilleries and not enough on the general concept, but
I set it up to spend time on the distilleries because all I'm going to tell you is what I've learned over the years from what to do. You have to isolate. If you get too, that's why I told you, concentrate on one distillery. I'll concentrate on a distillery. We'll use them as examples and kind of bring up a couple of the other ones out there. You only got 45 minutes to basically bring across your point. And if you're too all over the place, people are like not into it. But if you focus on one thing, it works. It makes it interesting. If we want to spend a whole month on small craft distilleries, we can do whatever we need to do. Each one we could highlight. We could have a whole month of that we put in the year where we highlight a different craft distillery on each different podcast. But
right.
There's lots that we can do, but you always have to be specific. If you start, it's just too big of a subject matter to cover in 45 minutes.
there's no getting right.
So
we had about the right amount of time for Garrison Brothers because I really wanted to emphasize what they did out there.
well, the time that you put into Garrison Brothers is when Dan comes on the podcast and we taste his stuff.
I wanted to plant a seed. I was trying to plant a seed.
Walker's peering into the screen.
When the hell did you become a farmer? You should have said I want to basically fill a tooth.
No, I come, you're too damn city-fied. I come from 300 years worth of farmers. My great-grandfather had 1,000 acres of farm. My grandfather had 800 acres.
What the hell's the difference between a dentist and a farmer?
Why?
A lot.
One pulls roots out of the gums, the other pulls roots out of the ground. Huh?
No, the one puts roots in the ground. The other one
Yeah, that
pulls
too.
roots out of your mouth. But they're still just dealing with the roots.
Well, and we're both digging.
Yes, you are. And you're filling, like I said,
And we're both trying to keep people healthy.
you're planting fillings in people's teeth. They're just planting, seeds in the ground.
So my great grandfather was a country store owner and a farmer.
My grandfather was, so that shows the age, our age.
My grandfather was a farmer, an auto worker, and a grave digger.
My grandfather was a farmer and a barber.
Did you see this, Walker?
Did.
I actually got one off
Shelfer
this.
that you talked about.
What?
That was that shelfer that you talked about that's not normally a shelfer.
Nope, 424, batch 424.
Grabbed
Yeah.
388 for, I think Nash wanted it.
Yep.
I think Nash wanted it for, I paid for it already, so somebody better want it.
Nash wants it.
He said he wanted it.
Actually, he already sent me the money, so it's his.
So Randy, I should probably say, even if the liquid is better than some of the specialty ones, this is still one of the coolest bottles I own.
It
This
is.
Boot Blast is
I will
amazing.
tell you,
Oh, that might be the coolest bottle you own, but I saw the coolest bottle you could own. It was the unicorn bottle. Here, hold on.
Oh,
I don't know that it's any better than some of my bottles, but you can think it is.
Oh no, it's the coolest bottle. It was
No.
this whiskey.
2023 Cellar Age is my coolest bottle.
No. It was this whiskey in
Okay, Tommy.
a glass bottle that was shaped like this unicorn.
So it wasn't that bottle.
No, it was like, imagine a glass blown bottle of a unicorn, and it was a unicorn. It was actually a bottle sculpture of a unicorn with this 10-year age whiskey in it. It was the coolest bottle I've ever seen. I told you I saw that, Randy. I was looking at it.
Yeah.
And then I saw one
Talking about that
I saw one that had a panther. What the shit was that?
Well, I hate to tell
Oh,
you,
one was in
they're
a leather-bound book. I saw the cool.
selling one down here that looks like semen.
That's gross. What is it? Is it shaped like little tadpoles?
Yes. Give me a second. I'm talking to Matt, so I'm going to mute you guys. I'm not leaving though.
Oh yeah, but I gotta go. I really do.
Yeah, it's time. Yeah, I have a lot of cool bottles.
I'm gonna take us off. Hey,
Old Man went through this like a snowman. Marin Eve whiskey.
Randy, take us off.
Couple others.
Take us off Facebook, Randy. I'm gonna take us off YouTube.
We should be on Facebook now. I didn't know he'd given it to me already.
Yeah.